Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, lots of news breaking. First off, Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, warning that Putin may be planning some sort of Christmas strike on Kyiv, as it looks like plans for a Christmas miracle, a truce, is fading. War on Christmas is basically the message that Zelensky is saying, that it looks like Russia may be plotting a massive strike on the capital of Ukraine on Christmas. And boy, everybody is watching to see what could happen. There could be some sort of energy infrastructure hit, knocking out power, leaving many of civilians shivering in the cold. It is cold in many parts of the country, but it is very, very cold in Russia and, of course, in Ukraine. And it looks like Putin, according to many people's posts, that there seems to be some sort of massive strike, air attack coming in multiple directions, possibly. And it's saying on the 23rd, 24th, and 25th. So we will, of course, keep you posted on that as the world is watching. And, of course, many people praying that there would have been some sort of truce before this moment. That did not come. And now it looked like Russia is planning for the worst. Russia saying before there will be no concession of territories. There will be no sort of compromise. We will take what is ours. That's a very powerful message coming from Vladimir Putin. And, of course, Ukraine's president bracing for the worst. That would be just tragic if there is some horrifying attack coming in just a matter of days. Meantime, Brown University clearly has a lot of problems. The Brown University staff, boy, oh boy, just in the last few hours, we know that the head of the safety department, who really doesn't have any safety background, by the way, I would say that's a wrong person to be in charge of security at a major university. But guess what? That is the case here tonight on the Rita Cosby Show. Luckily, that person has now been put on leave. Thank goodness that's the case. But in the meantime, there are so many questions, and a lot of people need to be held accountable because that was a major series of errors and lapse of security. Not just one mistakes, but there was like a waterfall of mistakes tied to the Brown University case. I mean, you could say the fact that the guy was casing the place for weeks before the deadly shooting, the fact that there were no cameras, the fact they had a homeless guy living in the basement. I would say all of those things are major problems, and you could bet there will be major lawsuits to follow. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222, and you are listening to The Rita Cosby Show. By the way, I just came back from watching Marty Supreme with Timothy Chalamet, Gwyneth Paltrow, and also, I think, a star in the making, John Catsimatidis. Of course, the great John Catsimatidis, owner and operator of Red Apple Media, and also my great co-host. I'm the blessed one to co-host with him from 5 to 6 Cats and Cosby on 77 WABC Radio. And John has a couple different parts there in the great movie Marty Supreme. He was fantastic. He plays Marty's friend's father. and also is just clever. He's funny. He's right on point. And he was terrific in the movie. So I hope all of you guys, when the movie officially comes out, we got a sneak peek tonight. I just left it right before the show, but I hope all of you, when you get a chance to see it, it's coming out in the next day or two. It is fantastic from beginning to end, and I hope all of you guys get a chance to go out and see the great film, Marty Supreme. I was so blessed to be there tonight with John and Margot and many of my great colleagues at 77 WABC Radio. Also, the governor of New York was there, Kathy Hochul, who was having a great time watching the movie. It was wonderful to see her. And as I mentioned, many of my great WABC colleagues, Dominic Carter was there, Noam Laden, also Greg Kelly, so many of them. Dick Morris was also there in the house and having a great time. And it was absolutely fantastic. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. First, here is the custodian at Brown University. You got to hear this one. His name is Derek Lisi. He has been a custodian there for decades, beloved by the students, knows them well, and said, I saw this suspicious guy coming often on campus in the few weeks before the shooting. Weeks, you heard me right, not days, not hours, not minutes, but weeks. And he says he saw this suspicious person there for at least 3-4 weeks or so before the shooting. And he saw him lurking into the classrooms, including the classroom where the actual shooting took place. He also says he ran into him in the bathroom and said the guy was acting suspicious. There were some weird things going on. So he reported that guy to security, not once, not twice, but 3 times. So boy, did Brown University drop the ball, according to this guy. Listen to him. Here's a whole bunch of his comments saying when he saw this suspect, this is the guy who opened fire on the classroom. Remember the one who was found dead in the storage locker, also responsible for the killing of the MIT professor who he knew well, remember from his days in Portugal. So here is the custodian talking about what he saw. And he said he told security multiple times, there's a creepy guy going around looking at classrooms. Looks like he's casing out the place. Listen to this.
I reported him 3 times to the ESS staff. I was on the phone with my fiance and I said, this guy just looks weird to me. I was like, I got to say something. You know, I just felt something kept telling me, don't ignore it. Don't ignore it. I had caught him the last time on December 1st, and I was right behind him as he was coming in the building. I was coming back from my break, and I went right to the ESS staff, and I had said to the ESS staff member, I said, hey, this guy looks suspicious. I said, he just went in the bathroom. I said, you should go check him out. He's like, I'm not here for that. I'm here to cover a Palestinian event that the kids never showed up for. And I said, oh, okay. And so now I had seen that guy before numerous times in that month, and I said, okay, nothing happened. Maybe it's just a guy that just doesn't like to talk to people. You know, it's really hard to put blame on anybody. You know what I'm trying to say? It's something that no one would expect to happen. Nobody. And it wasn't surreal for me until I went with my fiance to the site and we dropped off flowers. And that's when it really set in, pretty bad, you know. But I just think if there was cameras, maybe they would be able to get to him sooner. I don't know. You know, I wish I knew. And then I also was like, could I have done more something? You know, maybe that day, should I have followed him in the bathroom? Maybe he would have come out, maybe something would have happened to me. I don't know. You know what I mean? You know, that's the way I look at it. And at the same time, I just feel it wasn't what I could have done, because two students on here today. And it's like, that's what kills me every day. It's because I seen him, and then to know that it was him, I actually seen it, I can't get his face out of my head.
Can you imagine? You saw the guy multiple times. He believes about a dozen times. He reported him, he says 3 times. And it turned out he was very valuable. The FBI mentioned the custodian that night when the guy was located. So he clearly was a viable, credible witness and gave viable, credible information. And let's not forget, you got that. You got the homeless guy living below who chased him out, remember, outside the building. And let's not forget, they put out that video of a guy, the second suspect, so they said, or the second person of interest. It turned out it's the homeless guy who's living below the university. I mean, how could you not know that that's the homeless guy who's hanging out there all the time? He was a former student. He's right there under your roof, and you're putting out a video. Can you imagine? Maybe you should have gone downstairs and talked to the homeless guy day one. They could have caught this guy. They could have gotten him maybe before he got to the MIT professor. There are so many questions tonight, but here is the Providence police chief who just seemed totally clueless 5 days after the shooting, and he says, we don't even have a list of eyewitnesses. We don't have anybody. I mean, he sounds completely out to lunch. Let's go back and remember what he said 5 days after the shooting at Brown University.
Can you now say how many kids were in that classroom, and did the gunman come in from the back so these people never knew it was coming, or did he come in front with full view of everybody?
And that's all part of the interviews, and actually we're cooperating with Brown to get the roster. That was a study hall, so we don't have the number. We're still getting information as far as who was there. I know Brown sent out an email to the students to notify us if they were present, and we're still getting that, so I can't give you an exact account now.
Maybe you should have gone to the homeless guy in the basement. Maybe you should have talked to the custodian. Finally, the custodian said he came forward with information. I mean, this is incredible. This, to me, is like Keystone Cops on turbocharge. So here is Professor Alan Dershowitz. John Katsimatidis and I talked with Professor Dershowitz earlier today, and I said to him, do you think this will be lawsuit mania, that there will be so many cases against Brown because negligence, recklessness, there's a lot of things. Here's what Professor Dershowitz told us.
Oh, I agree with you. You know, look, I wrote a book called The Preventive State about how you have to engage in preventive intelligence to stop these kinds of things from happening. And this was a walking case of preventive intelligence. Any reasonable security officer should have been able to alert the authorities to the fact that this suspicious guy was just hanging around. And so I think Brown is going to be vulnerable. I think they're less vulnerable on the issue of cameras because a lot of their students, a lot of civil libertarians, the ACLU, were all opposed to cameras. They think that they violate right of privacy. And whenever schools, I know when Harvard wanted to put up cameras, there was a lot of opposition. Even when New York City was putting up cameras, which helped to solve the Mangiani case and other cases, there were some who were opposed to the cameras. So, and I think they're wrong. I think cameras serve a great and important purpose. It's reduced crime in Great Britain. It's reduced crime in New York. And so I'm in favor of silent cameras, cameras that don't pick up voices, but pick up gunshots and pick up people who might be suspicious and who can help solve crimes.
Can you imagine if they had good cameras like they should have at Brown University with an $8 billion endowment and tuition there is anywhere from $70,000 to $80,000? That's nuts. But remember, Brown University President Christina Paxson, who I hope gets hauled before Congress, it's incredible. She comes from the river of denial, because you have to hear what she had to say. Remember, they kept asking her about cameras, and shouldn't there have been more cameras? Shouldn't there have been more security? And she was like, oh, no, I don't think that would have been a problem at all. I don't think it would have made a difference. Let's remember what she said when she was grilled about that by the press on the night that they finally located this monster.
Yeah.
Dan. President Paxson, Dan Jay from NBC 10. I want to go back to the question I asked you Saturday night when I first arrived on the scene. There were no cameras in this building. And law enforcement, some that are standing up behind you, have said if Brown had cameras in that part of the building, we would have gotten this guy. And it may have stopped this swirling action. Can you answer that question for me?
Well, I don't think we have said the locations of cameras at Brown. We have
there's no cameras in that building because why would they take it from a rental car agency?
We have 1,200 cameras at Brown.
But not in that building.
We have some in that building. It's a large complex. And I think what you would see is the video evidence in this case, from my perspective, I'm not a law enforcement agent, has been incredibly helpful. The moving of the person around the neighborhood, those video images, they help crack this case. So I think video was important. And as the Attorney General explained at a recent press conference, this individual was not spending his time on the Brown campus. He came into a building on the edge of the campus. He left. He was in the neighborhoods. The investigation focused on the neighborhoods. The video was there. And that was really, really instrumental in cracking the case. But you can ask them.
And this is my follow-up, Madam President, if you'd say at the podium. Yes, video played a big role in this case. The neighbor's video, the rental car video, but not the video from the building that he walked in freely both before when he got in a confrontation and when he came back in and decided to kill people. You didn't have cameras in that building. Just say it so we can get this over. And my next question is, will you put cameras in the building? Will there be more cameras in that building?
Yeah, you know, I think we need to look back. We'll look at everything that is done, but I do not think a lack of cameras in that building it had anything to do with what happened there. Right. And we will go forward. Thank you.
Tom. Tom Quillo, WPRO.
That NBC 10 reporter is great. Just say it, because it's really obvious to everybody else. Just say it. And she still wouldn't say it. She made no admission. And then she made it sound like he just popped in. Well, he didn't just pop in. According to the custodian, he popped in about a dozen times. This is a major security lapse. Who needs to be found culpable, and where were the mistakes made? 1-800-848-9222. And we'll take your calls when we come back, everybody. You're listening to The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is Charlie. He's my part rescue dog, part whirlwind. Half of his breakfast always ends up on the floor. And he leaves fur everywhere. That's why I grabbed the Bissell Power Clean Fur Finder. It's cordless, powerful, and actually finds fur you don't even see. If you've got a pet like Charlie, you've got fur everywhere. The Power Clean Fur Finder gets that. Discover how Power Clean Fur Finder makes pet cleanups effortless at Bissell.com.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. So Netflix is basically Santa this year. 2 NFL games on Christmas Day, streaming live. At 1 p.m. Eastern, it's Cowboys, Commanders. Then at 4:30, you've got Lions, Vikings. Midwest football, playoff stakes, and probably some snow. Watching holiday football is a tradition the whole family can enjoy. Open some gifts, grab some food, settle in, and watch NFL Live on Netflix this Christmas Day.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's go to your calls quickly. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. Let's go to John in Brooklyn. Line 5. Go ahead, John.
First, let me wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Rita.
Thank you. You too.
And I still have very fond memories of meeting you and your friends 2 summers ago when you were trying to get to the World Trade Center.
Oh, my goodness.
Memorial.
That's right, John. You are so terrific. Thank you. And you were the best tour guide ever because you helped us tremendously. So we love you, John. Thank you.
But let me talk about my dear alma mater, Brown. I had trouble sleeping for almost a week.
Oh my goodness!
After I heard what happened, and I know the building where, even though I've not been back on campus in decades, I know the building where the shooting occurred.
Do me a favor. Do me a favor, John. Just because I know you are terrific. Do me a favor. Stay with us if you could. I have a hard commercial break. But I want to hear your thoughts, especially right after this commercial break. So stick with us if you could. Everybody, we're going to hear more from an alumnus.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Online reviews say I'm steep, rocky, and a difficult trail. Next time, I'm gonna say, not if you're driving a Toyota truck.
We know what we're made of. Toyota trucks.
Starting your business isn't just about opening the doors. It's keeping the dream you built secure. With New York Life, you get the financial guidance to make it real. Start today at nyl.com.
Rita Cosby is on. The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from Washington, D.C., where 3 police officers are being credited with saving an elderly man from a burning home after running inside before fire crews arrived. Well, the police officers got to the scene around 3 o'clock after reports of a house fire. One of the officers said he was nearby when the call came in, and he immediately headed to the scene. And he said he could hear people saying there was still somebody stuck inside. And with no fire crews on the scene, that officer entered the home, which he said was filled with thick smoke and near zero visibility. He said he couldn't see anything. It was pitch black. So he stayed low to the ground and he followed a man's screaming voice, eventually feeling the man's hand and finding him trapped behind a fallen door. He was struck behind the door, and suddenly how the door fell over on top of him, and he was behind it. So he called for backup, and other officers ran inside to help. The only thing going, he said, on my mind was we have to get this man out. I was having a hard time breathing. I could feel the heat going through the door. So working together, those 3 officers were able to pull the man out of the home safely. One of the officers said, I was terrified, but we show up for each other in this department. Knowing my partner was in there trying to get somebody out, we had to get in there too. How incredible that those 3 officers, with smoke billowing from the home, ran in, saved this man, and he is expected to make a full recovery thanks to our great men and women in blue. Boy, are they heroic. Well, we are talking about the circumstances surrounding Brown University. We're going to get to John in Brooklyn back in a moment, who's an alumnus there, so I can't wait to hear his thoughts. I just want to play this clip here of Brown University Provost Professor Frank Doyle, because he got out there and started explaining. Remember, in the height of all this, it was like, yeah, there's cameras. No, there's cameras. Are there cameras? It's a basic question. You could see the room. Are there cameras in the room? Are there not? Are there cameras in the building or not? And this guy couldn't keep his story straight. So not just the president of the university, but a lot of them have, a lot of splaining to do, like on I Love Lucy.
We have 1,200 cameras located throughout the campus. We don't publish the locations of the cameras. That would give a map to somebody to evade detection on the cameras. So that would be counterproductive to do that. There are cameras in this building, and as I answered the previous question, we have turned over all evidence that we are holding at Brown to law enforcement and are cooperating fully with them.
So you're saying that there's a camera, you're saying there's cameras in the building. I was told yesterday there wasn't cameras in the building. The Attorney General said, old building, no cameras, attached to a new building with cameras.
I believe he said that there were 2 different phases of the building that might have 2 different levels of technology. Again, all video imagery has been turned over to law enforcement.
That doesn't make sense to a lot of people. Just want to say that.
Okay. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. And then here's another reporter asking a question during that famous press conference. Listen to this.
The camera in that building that Brown put up because the sanctuary city law that we have. You don't want to record illegal immigrants, and you don't want to provide the footage to the FBI or immigration authority. One camera in that building, it come out from your detectives, they're a friend of mine, they're angry at this investigation that these people in Brown University put the camera up, they can identify that person. You imagine how the family want to go through? Tell the truth to the media here.
We heard from both the Brown police chief and the provost at Brown, who have shared that they have been fully cooperative and been forthcoming with all data and evidence that they have. The City of Providence's experience is the same, which is that Brown has been entirely cooperative and collaborative and fully sharing with us. We will be back here tomorrow once again. If you are not on the press list,
if you're not on the press list, which that reporter probably wasn't the next day, what a surprise. They didn't have any answers. So were they like shielding somebody as we're talking about? I mean, there's a lot of questions going on. They clearly, as Professor Alan Dershowitz believes, that they were trying to be, quote, politically correct, or the ACLU was saying, oh, we shouldn't have cameras in every room. I mean, what's the reason? Or was it just ineptitude that it's an old building and they didn't get around to it? There was also a system there that was set up by the Providence, Rhode Island Police Department, a brand new sort of central system where you could watch in real time different cameras. And what a surprise. Brown University hadn't signed up for that new system yet. You got a brand new system with the police department that can look at you in real time in the classrooms or in the hallways or whatever the case is, and you don't even sign up for it. And the police chief sounded not too concerned that they hadn't signed up for it. So there's concern that they're not putting pressure on it. And clearly, it didn't seem like it was a priority for Brown University. Guess what? It will be a priority when the lawsuits start coming in. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And you're listening to The Rita Cosby Show. Let's go back to John in Brooklyn. John, I'm so sorry we had a hard break, but I want to hear, you mentioned, my friend, that you are a Brown University alumnus, and I want to hear just your thoughts. You know that building? Do you know that room? Do you know the classroom?
I don't know the classroom, but I know the building. I am aware that it's across the street from the science library, and when the shooting began, apparently, a lot of the students in the library were cowering, hiding on the table, underneath the tables. But more to the point, President Paxson is probably the least qualified person to be president of Brown. I met her soon after she had assumed her position at a New York City Brown alumni event, and compared to one of her predecessors who I spent some time talking with, two of them, I found she was very, very superficial and not really someone who had a good sense of her vision for the university.
By the way, John, I understand she was making $3 million a year, right? I mean, that's what it's been published. That's a lot of money. What was her background before this? And do you know, you know a lot in the university system, John. Do they have like training, security training? I mean, wouldn't you think they'd have some update with, okay, what are the security issues here? How could there be such a disconnect from a homeless guy living there to this custodian who all spotted this guy, and yet it seems like nobody approached either one of them?
I am absolutely speechless because I know when I was at Brown, which was back in the late 70s and early 80s, campus police were a lot more efficient, even though back then the university was still open in the sense that, except for a part of the main campus with the most historic buildings on campus, such as University Hall, for example, a lot of the infrastructure, there was not really many areas to have a very heavily gated presence. But still, I got to know some of the officers working for the Brown Police Department, and I found them to be very, very efficient and alert.
So what happened from the 70s to now?
And what I have heard within the last week and a half is simply unbelievable. I will make this prediction. I think there will be enough uproar amongst the alumni that President Paxton's days will be numbered as president.
Yeah,
especially in
I agree.
comparison with the accomplishments of her immediate predecessors.
Yeah, by the way, John, I 100% agree. I think she clearly dropped the ball. And the fact that she got out there, you probably remember this at that press conference because the whole country was glued to it. And especially you as an alumnus, John, I can't imagine how you feel and how this obviously hits so close to home. When she came out and she was like defiant, talking about, the swirling media, the swirling comments, as if, anybody criticizing the university wasn't warranted, like scolding people. Meanwhile, they made so many mistakes, and her defiance and her reluctance to even acknowledge there was a problem, and the fact that, and John, I'm not a president of a university, and you're not a president of a university. But I bet if either one of us was in charge of a university, the security would have been so much better, because this is pretty much security 101. You'd go, okay, who do we have here? Who do we have? Oh, wait a minute. Okay. And especially that building was near a residential area. So it's even more important in many ways because more people could kind of come off the street. And now we're hearing that building, according to some people in the community, was open all the time. Like runners knew that was a place to run inside and go to the bathroom. And then there's that homeless guy who was near the area. There are just so many questions and so many issues, and it's shocking to me. Here we are, 2025, about to head into 2026, and this is Security 101, and most importantly is to keep the kids safe and students, great students like you were, I'm sure, John, because you're a brilliant man. John, thank you so much. Really great to hear from you. And John, Merry Christmas to you and your family. Thank you so much. Let's go to Robert, also in Brooklyn. Robert, your thoughts tonight.
Well, thank you, Rita, for taking my call. I want to wish you a wonderful holiday and a Happy New Year.
Thank you. You too. Thank you, Robert.
And I'm just curious, the most important question is, when do you expect to be on vacation and come back?
Well, I will be here with you guys tomorrow. So I won't be with you guys tomorrow night. I will actually be doing some holiday stuff, some Christmas stuff. But thank you very much. So I wish all of you guys, in fact, I'm glad you reminded me because I've been so busy. I will be doing Cats and Cosby tomorrow. But I want to wish everybody, I'm glad you're telling me because I just realized you're right. I will not be with you guys tomorrow night. So I want to wish everybody a big, big and beautiful and blessed Christmas with you and your family too, everybody. I love all of you guys. And to me, the best Christmas is getting to talk with all of you guys. It's Christmas for me every day, Robert, because I learned so much from all of you guys.
Well, in terms of this particular case, again, it's just very hard to understand the motivation of the alleged murderer. He was involved, he was alleged to be involved in both the assassination of Ella Cook and Mohammed Aziz Umarzakov in the Brown University, and 9 students were injured, and also the MIT professor. Is there any, reasonable motive to link it all together that you have heard of?
I believe, and what a lot of people have been saying, there's a friend who knew this guy from when they went to school together. This was, back in Brown days. They were actually in class together, which was like early 2000s, because he was there 2000, and then he officially withdrew in 2003, but was really busy with classes, I think, up until 2001. And the friend of his has been out there saying that he believes the motive may have been just sort of pure jealousy and anger. First, anger at Brown, because he said the classes were way too easy and the classes just weren't challenging enough. And then Brown wasn't sort of receptive to having him grow. And the next thing he knows, he's almost getting pushed out of Brown. And yet he was a brilliant man, apparently, just mentally, obviously a deeply disturbed man, the shooter. And this friend said that the guy was a loner. Nobody really talked to him. He was socially awkward, as was the friend. And that's why they sort of bonded. But he said the guy always resented Brown and complained about everything. He said the classes weren't right. The food, apparently, he didn't like the food at Brown. I mean, it sounds like he was obviously off his kilter. So there was that issue. And then the professor, my surmise, and the friend who knows the guy surmise, was that maybe he resented this MIT professor because clearly that guy went on to becoming this very successful, very accomplished professor who seemed to have it all and went on to make big money and was highly regarded and esteemed. And they studied together. So it was sort of like this one guy went to Brown, the other guy went on another path. The other guy rises up to becoming the esteemed professor at MIT, a very highly regarded school, as is Brown. And yet this other guy couldn't keep the classes going. Brown kind of pushed him out. He kind of blamed Brown for maybe his demise. The one thing we don't know, Robert, as I have not seen, and it may be out there, I just haven't seen it, that I'm wondering what this guy did. What did the guy do all this time from after he left Brown? He left Brown and pulled out in 2003 from Brown, as I mentioned. We know he was living in Miami. So what was he doing in Miami? Was he a professor? Was he a garbage man? I don't know. We don't know. So I'm curious. And what were his finances? Apparently, there are reports that he had some overseas accounts. Maybe they were in Portugal. But was somebody giving him money? How was he making money? Apparently, there was a lot of money in these overseas accounts. So what was he doing? I think that's important. But so far, the closest lead to your question is maybe it was jealousy. Maybe it was, anger at Brown. Brown kind of was the beginning of the spiral down for this guy. And then suddenly he took it out on this one successful guy who had it all. And who stayed friends with him, but he was maybe secretly always jealous or envious or bitter at him that maybe he got the break that the other guy thinks he should have gotten. That seems to be, is there something I'm missing here, Robert, or do you think there's something more to the story?
Just don't understand, does this guy have any history of criminality or a major psychiatric issue with this guy?
Not that we've heard of, because when they did the search, not that we heard of it, Robert. Good point.
And in terms of just as a side point, the university, there was Carol Swain had pointed out that Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Berkeley, Columbia, Brown, Johns Hopkins, Duke, Cornell, 95% of the faculty are Democrat. It's like it's a vacuum for the same indoctrination. And
what does that have to do with the shooting?
Well, because when you have people who only look at certain in one perspective, they become very narrow-minded. The only thing that seems to concern them is protecting people's right to have, to chant about from the river to the sea, as Palestine will be free, protecting non-citizens. They seem to be very narrow-minded in their focus. If you have a balanced faculty, then you have to each one keeps each other in check. It's about quality. It's not about grandstanding your philosophical beliefs. It's about you have to do customer service.
And by the way, that's an interesting point because then it's not sort of DEI, this whole little world too, also as well. And you're right, it is sort of their own little sort of a separate fiefdom there at Brown University, like a lot of universities. But that's a great point. And maybe, by the way, getting back to the camera issue, Robert, that may have been a reason. Professor Dershowitz surmises it's sort of these civil libertarians who are saying, don't put cameras everywhere. And that might have played a role why there weren't cameras in the right places there at Brown. Robert, great points as always, my friend, and have a great Christmas. Thank you for your beautiful greetings. 1-800-848-9222, everybody, and you're listening to The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. This is The Rita Cosby Show.
And coming up at the beginning of the next hour, John Catsimatidis is going to call in, fresh from the premiere of Marty Supreme. And it is a fabulous movie. John is in it in two places in a big way. And he's even in the trailer, too, because he's that good. And also talk about other big stars in that, Timothée Chalamet. You also see Gwyneth Paltrow, Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank's in it. It's like an all-star cast. And I can't wait to hear John's thoughts after the premiere tonight. I love the movie. It is so perfect. It is the right movie at the right time, I think, right now, with everything going on in the world. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. And also, Hunter Biden breaks his silence. This is wild. And he starts criticizing the immigration policy under the Biden administration. I'm glad that at least one Democrat is coming out. I said it earlier. I think Hunter Biden is now the voice of reason in the Democratic Party. We'll talk about that and continue talking about Brown University and so much more, all after the break.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.